a far majority of the things that people say to you actually have nothing to do with you. This goes into Freud's psychoanalytic theory, looking specifically at projections and displacement. Projections being a matter of things that we feel about ourselves, yet project onto other people, right? And the interesting thing here is that if you really observe somebody and the things that they say to you, the ways that they talk to you and everything, you're actually allowing yourself an opportunity to learn about how they feel about themselves, right? People don't talk to you based on how they feel about you. I mean, not always, but more often than not, they talk to you based on how they feel about themselves. And if you just listen and observe, you'll learn how they feel about themselves. And how they treat you is how they treat themselves. Or I should say, how they treat you is how they feel about themselves. So it can be really easy to get trapped inside of what other people say to you because you easily mistake it for how they feel about you. However, they're just telling you how they feel about themselves, right? And that's the challenge here. That's the really interesting thing is that when you look at it from the standpoint of Freud's psychoanalytic theory, a far majority of the things that people say just don't matter, right? So, me personally, I stopped listening to people because I really started to catch on to this. And when you actually do this, you realize that a far majority of the things that people say to you just don't have anything to do with you. And that's actually very liberating because then you can realize that people are pretty much just walking projectors, right? They're walking projectors and displacers, and that's just it's a very kind of strange reality to step into, but once you do, you probably won't look back because it's like, oh, so I don't have to take any of this stuff seriously. Um, it's very interesting because people will, they'll come to you and they'll be like this, that, and the other. They'll have these apparent issues that they feel are a problem on your end, but really they're just talking about crap that they see within themselves and they're giving it to you. Here's my pain and now it's your problem. And it's like, if you're not aware enough of these psychological dynamics, you can really get sucked into all of this unnecessary energy. And it affects you because if you get sucked into it, if you get trapped by this illusion, you can actually end up taking a different course in life that you don't need to, right? Trying to prove yourself in a way that you don't need to because it has nothing to do with you, right? Um, yeah, this whole foundation of psychological matters and how people approach each other based on how they feel about themselves is very fascinating. When you can actually see it for what it is, you'll start to take what people have to say to you far less seriously because it is far less serious than a lot of people think it is. Now, if you hurt somebody, if you do something indecent to somebody and they come to you and they express hurt and they try to, tell you this and that, that's a different story. But if you're not doing anything wrong to people, if you're not doing anything wrong to other people, then just be aware of how people approach you because you know they might have this issue or that issue or feel this way about it or that way about it and try to give it to you, and this is often what's happening in life. Somebody gives somebody else crap, right? That crap has nothing to do with the person that they're giving it to. That person that was just given crap then gives another person crap. Then it becomes a cycle of confused matter, really. Projections, displacement, whatever it is. And then so on and so forth. And it continues. And the people that mistake it for theirs, they're the people that continue to pass it on because it's kind of like hot potato. It's like a game of hot potato. It's like ooh, this is hot. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. And you just pass it to the next person, right? And that's really all that it is. Um, it's like generational trauma, right? It's like the game of passing the hot potato. It's like, oh, I've carried this for too long. All right, now you're going to take it, and then you give it to your children. Right? It's funny. I mean, it's not funny because it's crazy and it messes up a lot of things, but yeah, like, and you see parents do it too, right? Parents project their crap onto their children, and then what happens there is that if their children aren't aware enough of it, then they pass it on to theirs as well, and it's just very interesting because when you can see it for what it is and realize that most people are just trying to turn you into. I mean, this is another thing too. This is another thing that's really necessary to understand. I would argue that a far majority of people are just trying to turn you into a version that best suits them, right? It's not for your best interest, it's actually for their best interest. Um, and they have these, ridiculous expectations that you do not need to add up to, and it's absurd. So understanding these social dynamics, these defense mechanisms, really, right? Freud's psychoanalytic theory is about defense mechanisms, projection and displacement being two of them. And really, people are just defending against reality, right? And they're projecting because there's pain and they don't know what to do with it and they've been holding on to it for so long, so they're going to give it to you. And then if you're not aware enough of it, you're going to mistake it for yours. And then you might even take a course of action to do something about it because you're mistaking and confusing it for yours, which it isn't. So this is why being aware of these things is absolutely crucial, because if you're not, you can get trapped inside of it and it will just take you down a path in life that's not necessary and it's not yours.